Okay, so why did George get his medicine seized? I mean, George has, 5 other people haven't. I don't know the answer. I think it's basically just down to the individual. It's down to who was the particular guard who happened to address the situation. Because I think a lot of border guards or border force, as they're now called, would see the prescription. And would be convinced by that, would simply think, oh, well, that's fair enough, then he's got a bit of paperwork, let's let him through. And that's quite probably what's happened on other occasions. And we know as well now that general instructions are being given to border force officers that if people got less than an ounce, there'll certainly be no prosecution, although of course they'll be expected to be seized. So I think George was just unlucky. And what's particularly ironic about it, of course, is that George probably went to more trouble than anyone else to make sure that he actually spoke to the border force, which is sickening. But anyway, having had something seized, you can then appeal against it. So that's what we've done, obviously, and you can appeal in 2 different ways. You can make an actual appeal, a legal appeal, formal appeal, which involves a hearing at a local magistrate's court. Or can involve a hearing as a local magistrate. And you can do what's called a restoration request, where you just ask them nicely, please, can we have our medicine back? So the appeal was knocked out straight away. The formal legal appeal was knocked out straight away. So we're still ongoing with the restoration request. And what I've asked them to do is to consider restoring it to George on an outward trip to Holland, which seems to me perfectly reasonable. That's where he obtained it, and he obtained it perfectly legally. So why can't, if he's going back out to Holland, why can't they give it him back then? So they've already said no to us once. In fact, they didn't say no. They wrote back explaining why they'd seized it again, because these people don't like to say no, because it's when they say no formally in writing that you can then begin the process of a legal challenge. But anyway, they're now reviewing their decision. So, and how many times we will be able to go through this process, I don't know. Of course, what is possible as well is that they may well have destroyed it already. Whether that's destroying it in an incinerator or maybe one of them took it home and burnt it, I don't know. So that's where we are. Poor old George's 500 quid out of pocket. I keep on thinking we should do a nationwide appeal for him to give it him back, because he really gave it up for the cause. But that's where we are. But it's good that we're pushing the law all the time. And George is the point man. And as a result of George's courage in being the point man, what we've been able to do is take on the border force on this issue, but we're now also looking at taking on the Home Secretary. And we've actually got one of London's major law firms involved in advising George, and the leading counsel in cannabis cases, Ben Cooper. Leading counsel is an incorrect term, actually, because that would suggest he's a silk, but he's not. But he's definitely the man. He's the man when it comes to cannabis law. He acted in the very famous medicinal cannabis case in 2005. With George's help, with George being the point man, we've managed to get ourselves in a position where we're testing the law to the very limits with the finest legal minds that we can. I have to be honest, it's not looking good. It's looking that, the government or the law is tight, is too tight. There's no way through it. But the other thing it's done is it's enabled us to get into the Home Affairs Select Committee. And they've agreed they will undertake an inquiry into this issue. And as I was just saying a short while ago, what we need is for somebody in the media, classically maybe a Daily Mail journalist, to seize on a medicinal cannabis user story in this country. And Paul Lewington, who we're going to talk to next, could well be it. And take that story and make something of it, and suddenly you could have a massive reversal in public opinion, and I could just see what would happen then. The government say, oh yes, well, we've been considering this all along anyway, we've been reviewing it, we've got plans to reform, and we are about... And that's how it will happen, I think. That's exactly how it will happen. What we're doing, and I think the best thing we can do, is just keep pushing all the time, pushing in every direction, pushing them to the limit. So that's where we are. George is our warrior, our point man, and I, pay due respect to him for that.